by Jyoti Panjwani. Now, on one side, you could see Rasidi ticket, Amritaji's work translated into the revenue stamp. On the other side, you could find the pages of my life, originally written in Sindhi and then translated into English. So, going back to what was said earlier, in the act of translation, which could be creative translation, but in the act of translation, we lose certain things. At the same time, we gain certain things. Until and unless some Sindhi work is translated into English, Punjabi work is translated into English, Malayali work is translated into English, how could we know what happened to those women? How could we understand feminine sensibility? How could we understand their journey as women? So translation plays a very significant role so far as autobiographies are concerned, and for that matter, many literary types in literature. As I mentioned, the pages of my life, autobiography and selected stories by Popati Hiranandani. We do come across certain different styles or architecture or structures in the work of Popati. I would like to mention only one element that can get connected with Amritaji's work is the pain and pangs of separation, is the pain and pangs of partition, the partition of India and Pakistan. Just imagine, as a reader, when we become one with Amritaji's quest, or when we become one with Amritaji's psyche, we have empathy for people who suffered during partition. Amritaji was in Lahore and then she had to move to Dehradun. And first she has to come to Dehradun and later she had to shift to Delhi. Human beings are like trees. They grow roots. Places matter. When there is violence, anarchy, disorder, which reminds us of the Nobel laureate W.B. Yeats's poem, The Second Coming. The world is full of anarchy, disorder, and human beings who are like trees, who have roots. They had to leave their place and they have to move to another places. So you are dislocated and you lose something permanently in your life. Going back to the first chapter of the autobiography of Amritaji, wherein she is talking about resurrection of time. She is talking about the death of her mother, death of faith, and also there is a huge loss of Lahore. You have to leave the place and you have to move to some foreign place or some new place. Your whole life is disturbed. But once again, there is one solace, there is one comfort, or there is one catharsis, or there is one purgation. What helps? Words, writing, pen. There's a profound sense of touch, tactile imagery used by Amritaji. There's a special reference to Tolstoy in page number 53 of this Vikas publication text, the revenue stamp. And I would like to read that part because it's very touching. It transforms. It transforms the writer. The writer recreates the self, and also the reader transcends. The reader transcends the tyranny of time, the tyranny of life. Such is that sense of touch. And when we read that part on page number 53, written during Amritaji's visit to Russia, first she describes about the beauty of Moscow road, like the road in autumn, how it has golden and silver beauties. But later, she describes a very touching, fine experience she had when she visited Leo Tolstoy's bedroom. I would like to read that part. It says, I'm reading from page number 53. I stand in Yasnaya Polyana, Tolstoy's house, where he wrote War and Peace. A white shirt hangs from a wall in his bedroom. As I lean on my arm, a breath of wind blows in from the window and the shirt sleeve touches me softly. It feels like the year 1910. For a moment, the hands of time turn anti-clockwise. I have swung from 1966. I am in 1910. And lo, and behold, who do I see? Tolstoy himself in that very shirt. Now look at this beautiful prose writing, which is actually poetry. Moment transforming itself into eternity. It becomes universal. That's what is art? There is one fine essay by Leo Tolstoy himself. Here is a writer, while visiting Russia, visits a great writer's bedroom. And there, when the sleeve of Tolstoy touches her, she touches, as if she touches the artist himself. She touches the creativity of Tolstoy. She touches the concept of peace as he proclaimed or as he searched for. So, a person writing in 1966 moves to, as it is mentioned in 1910, she moves. See, this is what is Bergson's theory, psychological time. Mind does not always remain, rather seldom remains in physical time. There's a forward-backward movement. Time is a flux for mind. Clock time is only for our convenience. Clock time is only at the physical level. But when we talk about our mind, the way we think, the way our mind works, mind, thoughts, it is the very nature of thought that it moves backward and forward. So here we could see Amritaji moving into. So look at the freedom that the mind explores. You are in 1966, but you move back to 1910. Not only that you move back, but you meet the writer. You meet the writer and you transform yourself. Meeting that writer spiritually or through your mind is not false. Hello, it's not pseudo. This also projects the connectivity between two artists and also how the late artist could inspire the present artist. On one side we can see the narrator is when Amrita ji is writing in 1966, she is the narrator in 1966. But when she refers to 1910, okay, she is talking about what happened before her birth. And she is meeting an artist who is no more physically present on this universe. But it is her fine sensibility, it is her faith in words, it is her respect for Tolstoy that makes her spiritually close to Tolstoy. And we can say that it's a healing touch because it says, I have swung from 1966, I am in 1910, and I could see Tolstoy himself in that very shirt. Let me repeat. At this point, when you are reading autobiography, you reach this page and you read this part, which is actually poetry. You as a reader meet Amritaji, meet Tolstoy, and also the tyranny of time is transcended, is broken. That is what is art. We would try to relate what is art with this biography, with this autobiography as art later. After talking about this healing touch, the touch with Tolstoy, the writer mentions about violence. Violence and separation, parts or dimensions that Amritaji did not select. But in your journey, in your soul's journey, in your spirit's journey, certain things happen. What is important is how you purge your emotions and how you create art. So here is one entry that is written August 31, 1937. Standing outside Kragujevac, about 100 kilometers from Belgrade, I see a vast expanse of green. On October 21, 1941, the German force encircled a school here and shot down each child and teacher. Each child and teacher shot dead. The stone wings are a symbol of the plight of 300 who lost their lives. 300 people lost their lives. The entire village population of 7,000 fell victim. Not 300, then 7,000. The stone statues of a man and a woman stand as a symbolic monument over the 7,000 graves. It strikes me, standing here, that the heartbeats of the dead, look at the sensitivity, that the heartbeats of the dead have been embodied in the statues. Or was it perhaps that a stone had entered those heartbeats, petrifying them? A writer of fine sensitivity is disturbed not only by the partition of India and Pakistan, but also by these 7,000 graves, especially every teacher and student killed by the Germans. There are certain such entries in the autobiography wherein Amritaji mentions exact dates and year. There is one entry, just to mention, it reads September 9 to 22. September 9 to 22, 1967. Sometimes the year is important, sometimes the date is important, sometimes what happened was important. Now, very briefly, let me go through what is art as Hegel talks about it in his lectures on fine art. The individual living thing in nature is transient, vanishing, changeable in outward appearance, while the work of art persists, even if it is not mere permanence, which constitutes its genuine preeminence over natural reality, but its having made spiritual inspiration conspicuous. We know this higher standing of the work of art is questioned. These are the words of Hegel. On art, should we not consider the revenue stamp as a fine piece of art that has become universal, because there is universality in this work, and Amritaji is no longer amidst us physically, but her art is eternal. The revenue stamp, an honest expression with much boldness, with a courage to face criticism, with absence of cynicism. Let me very briefly read how the autobiography ends. In May 1986, I was nominated to the Rajya Sabha, which had widened the scope of opportunities to express my thinking. But there